Thank you. Good afternoon and happy Sabbath. This afternoon, I'm going to be speaking on hormones and how it affects us and how we can get help. Hopefully, by the end of this presentation, it'll be able to help us understand the body and how the hormones work in the body and what we can do to help balance our hormones. Okay. All right. Hormones are the body chemical messages sending signals into the bloodstream and tissue. Hormones work slowly over time and affect many different processes, including the growth and the development, metabolism. How your body gets its energy from the foods you eat, sexual function, reproduction, and mood. When the glands do not produce the right amount of hormones, diseases are developed that can affect many aspects of life. So, do y'all think that's a true statement? With the hormones, do it affect you in life and make you work slower or sluggish? All right. So, what organs do you think control these hormones? Yeah. Okay. Any more? Yes. Allison, what did you say?
Oh, I said the brain.
Okay. All right. And Brother Frank? Okay. Okay.
Adrenal glands and pituitary gland.
All right. Good job. Yeah. Smart. All right. So here's a body and it has the different hormones and how they are affected with the different organs. So we have the pineal gland, which helps with the melatonin in the body, the hypothalamus gland that's in the brain, the pituitary gland that's in the brain, the thymus that's part of the right up under like the thyroid. You got your liver, the adrenaline glands, the ovaries, the placenta, the uterus, the testicles, kidneys, pancreas, stomach, and thyroid and parathyroid. Did you know all those organs contain the hormones that we need in the body? Yeah, so we have to take care of our organs. That's another reason why we have to eat clean, take care of our organs so that the hormones can work through those organs to make us feel better. All right. Here are some of the main hormones. You got your insulin, and this is just some of them: melatonin, estrogen, testosterone, cortisol, serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, estrogen again, endorphins, the adrenaline, and then the progesterone, which helps with the reproduction system. And then I put like in parentheses like those hormones, what they do to the body. The cortisol is a stress hormone. Melatonin, sleep, insulin, our blood sugar, serotonin is a happy hormone, dopamine is a happy hormone. We get that when the kids are like on YouTube and stuff, we release the dopamine. Oxytocin is a love hormone. When somebody give you a hug or touch your body a certain kind of way, that is being released. All right, female hormone. All right. Sometimes when you go to the doctor, the doctor may test you for like your TSH or your FSH. The FSH is the Foley stimulating hormone. The estrogen and the progesterone have many major roles in regulating the functions of the female reproduction system. In a woman, the FSH help manage the menstrual cycles and stimulate the ovaries to produce eggs. The estrogen is a steroid hormone associated with the female reproduction organ and is responsible for developing the female sexual characteristics. And then the progesterone is an endogenesis steroid hormone that is commonly produced by the adrenaline cortex as well as the gonads, which consist of the ovaries and the testes. And this is just like some foods and stuff or some things you can do, but I'm gonna break it down more in another slide, but for your estrogens, different foods and different things you can change, different supplements. But in another slide, it's gonna break all that down. FSH, what happens if I have too much Foley stimulation hormones? In a woman, it's a lack of Foley stimulation hormone leads to incomplete development and puberty or poor ovary functions. In this situation, the Foley's does not grow properly and do not release the egg, thus leads to infertility. And the symptoms of a high FSH is irregular periods, hot flashes, disruption in sleep, skin and hair changes, and difficult getting pregnant. How can this FSH be treated naturally? We're going to cover some of that too, but this that breaks it down even more on another slide. But of course, our diet, cutting a lot of the wheat, unfortunately, has been contaminated. Unless it's like non-GMO, organic, it's better for us. Cold foods out of your diet, taking herbal supplement, reducing stress, exercise, and acupuncture. But we'll go more into details as we proceed on. But so some kids or teenager may experience this, even adults with the FSH, where your cycle is not regular. Why is it not regular? Because your hormones are off somewhere. So it goes back to our diet. Most of the time, 90% of the time it goes back to the diet. Estrogen affects the reproduction tract, the urinary tract, the heart, the blood vessels, the bone, the breast, the skin, the hair, the muscular membranes, and the pelvic muscles, and the brain. So estrogen is very, very, very important because it affects all of these, all of this. This is what the estrogen affects the brain. We want our brain to be good. So the symptoms of a low estrogen can include hot flashes, flushes, because everybody don't go through menopause. Y'all know that, right? Everybody don't go. It's not like, oh, you're gonna get it. No, you don't really supposed to get it. You don't really supposed to go through it unless your hormones are off. That's why people go through menopause. So if you experience hot flashes, that's a sign your estrogens are low. Flushes, night sweats are the most common symptoms of a low estrogen. At time, blood rushes to your skin and surface. Mood swings are another effect of low estrogen. You may feel sad, anxious, or frustrated, and then thin tissue may cause discomfort. So, like I said, we're going to go into on another slide. We'll go into more details on what you can eat, what you can do to help, what you can stay away from to help with the estrogen. What happens when the estrogen levels are high? High estrogen level can cause symptoms such as irregular or heavy periods, weight gain, fatigue, fibroids in females. In males, they can cause breast tissue growth, dysfunction in certain areas, and then infertility. And we're going to talk about progesterone. I have my own experience with that. I told a little bit of it this morning. When I had my first pregnancy, I lost that child. So when I got pregnant with the second child, the doctor put me on progesterone and I had to get a shot every week on each of my butt cheeks. They were rotated, and it's supposed to help build up my body, make me stronger. And I still end up going on bed rest at 30 weeks. So when I got pregnant with the last child, which is Autumn Rain, I did everything natural. Went through Sister Diane. I had a progesterone cream that I rubbed on my wrist. I had Clara Sage, and I had learned about the plant-based diet. So I was completely vegan. She came out healthier than Skylar was healthy, but she had a couple of issues and stuff. And I think it was because of the medication that they was giving me. But she was almost 9 pounds and she was healthy just through the plant-based diet. So you can get progesterone the natural way through herbs and through creams and through what God has provided for us. But progesterone is a endogenesis steroid hormone that is commonly produced by the adrenaline cortex as well as the gonades, which consists of the ovaries and the testes. Estrogen and progesterone, those are like powerful hormones that can affect us. If these are, the symptoms of a high progesterone consist of breast tenderness and swelling, bloating or weight gain, anxiety, fatigue, depression, and low sex drive. Now, the benefits of a high progesterone is easy anxiety, promotes memory, helps to prevent overgrowth of certain types of cell, which can help protect against some cancers, including those of breast or the uterus, help to prevent overgrowth of cells of the endometrial lining and prevent endometriosis from forming. Yes.
And you mentioned when you have high, you said
Progesterone.
right. Some of those look like, you know, how before you have your menstrual cycle, it's like that. Would you say that at that point it's high
Yeah,
or?
it is, yes. Yeah, when your cycle, before your cycle come on, yes, it is high.
Okay.
You're right. Male hormones. All right. What are the key male hormones? Testosterone. A lot of men come into the office to get their testosterone checked. Most of the time they feel fatigued, they're tired, they're losing hair, they just cannot perform. They get the testosterone check. That's the first test they're gonna check. It controls the hormones FSH and LH. Because male and female has similar hormones. We have a lot, similar hormones. So they have a SHA just like we have a FSH. They check that also. Prolactin, the sex hormone binding lubricant. They check that. The thyroid stimulation hormone and the cortisol. They check all of those hormones in men because most of the time it is low, and it does affect the brain. So if these are signs of testosterone, low mood, depression, irritability, or feeling stressed. Did anybody have that? Any of the males? It's okay. We all go through it. I'm gonna help you. All right, cortisol, our stress hormone. It's a hormone secretion by the adrenaline gland as a biological response to stress, which is why many refer to as the stress hormone. In addition to helping the body cope with stress, cortisol also assists with the glucose metabolism, helping the body convert sugar into energy. What are the symptoms of high high cortisol level? You got weight gain, especially in your face and your abdomen, fatty deposit between your shoulder blades, wide purple stretch marks on your abdomen, the belly, muscle weakness in your upper arms or thighs, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, which often turns into type 2 diabetes. And then natural remedies you can use, eating, of course, a whole food, plant-based diet, supplements, taking deep breath, getting enough sleep, exercising regular, writing, indulging in hobbies, and I put reading your Bible. But it sounds similar to our natural laws of health, right? The 8 laws of health. we just have to abide by them. Like God gave it to us for a reason. And if we use those 8 health laws, natural 8 laws, I believe that we can prevent ourselves from getting our hormones off balance, because sometimes we'll eat right, but we don't work out, or we'll drink water, but we don't pray. Like we have to do all of it, and we have to have a balance. We have to make time for our mind, body, and soul. And so we usually just kind of put ourselves to the side, but we got to remember that if we don't eat clean, if we don't drink the water we need to drink, if we don't read, if we don't exercise, that throws our hormones off, and we cranky and we upset and we mad, because when you work out, you release the cortisol into the body. So that's the stress hormone. So we need to work out. It's gonna help. You won't be so irritated and flustered. Work out, get up, read your Bible, and just take a nice little walk. But let's try to exercise those natural 8 health laws. He gave it to us for a reason. We blessed to have them. So let's try to use them. The main issue that a lot of women go through is managing our hormones. Of course, it's easy for women, for our hormones to get off. And then managing menopause. All right. So the foods that we can eat to help with menopause are flax seeds, collagen, sprouts, fermented vegetables, tempeh, fermented soil. Because you'll hear people say soy is bad for you, don't eat it. You can eat it, but it needs to be non-GMOs and no organic. It needs to be organic and non-GMOs. It's great for us. It's it's high in protein. Broccoli sprouts that help with the immune system, and red clove sprouts. Herbs and spices that we can use is black cohosh. That's for hot flashes. You can use it in a tea form, or you can use it as a supplement. And Dunquois, it helps balance the estrogen and the progesterone in the body. It's like a female ginseng. Another herb is wild yam. I think Sister Janet will ask me about that. Clove and vitex that help raise the progesterone level. And then the spices that we can use is licorice and sage. That helps also manage the hormones in the menopause. Essential oil, Clara sage, that's what I use to help make me strong when I was pregnant with my daughter. Myrrh, we know that's what they used and gave to Jesus. Thyme, rosemary, chamomile, peppermint oil, fennel, lavender, and lang lang. I think I'm saying that right. All of those are essential oils, and you can rub them on you. You can put it in your teas. You can drink it. All this help with balancing the hormones in the body. And then we got like medical mushrooms that you can take. The truffle, black diamond. Heard it's rare to find, but it's out there. That helps. It naturally boosts up the testosterone, helps with your skin, give you energy and your libido. And then you got reishi and cordyceps. That you should take every day. It gives you energy. And it's good with your adrenaline glands for fatigue, because I know some of us be fatigued. And if we eat a clean diet and we still feel like we're off somewhere, most likely it's the hormones. So you can add this to your diet and it'll help. I know the Clara sage, it helps. I have gave it to some of my coworkers that going through menopause. Nutrients that we can add. Vitamin D is so important, especially in African Americans. Our vitamin D is beyond like the lowest. Last year I got my vitamin D check and it was a 7, and it's supposed to be a 30. So this year when I got it checked, I was taking my vitamins, it was a 28. So I'm almost there to the 30 line. But The vitamin D, we don't understand how important it is. Like a lot of people that got COVID is because their vitamins was low, the vitamin D, the vitamin C. We have to take our vitamins, we have to supplement because unfortunately the food, how they, make it, they don't put enough nutrients. We don't have enough nutrients, so we have to add a supplement to it. So vitamin D, vitamin K2, not just vitamin K, vitamin K2 it's going to help with our bone health. It's going to help with our brain health and the reproduction system. Bone it is another vitamin. It helps with bone loss because unfortunately, when you go through menopause, the bones and stuff you lose, especially if your vitamin D is low. If you injure yourself, you can possibly, especially if you're older, you injure yourself. Sometimes people don't come back from it. So the boron help with that, and magnesium. Like Sister Diane been talking about magnesium for the longest. You can do it orally or you can do it topical, but we need to have these things in our diet daily. Supplements, collagen. You can put that in a smoothie. You got the omega-3s, and that's our flaxseed, our chia seeds. That's all the omega-3. Hemp seeds, spirulina. And these herbs are not expensive if you go down like to Seven Under or to a herbal store. Spirulina and chlorella, all those herbs, they're not expensive. I was doing chlorella like every day. I was kind of doing it too much because when I got my blood pressure, it was like low. They was like, "What are you doing? Because your blood pressure's not usually low." But I was taking like a tablespoon of chlorella and a drop of chloroform every day. After I drink 2 cups of water, I'll drink that. So it helps with blood pressure. And so if you have high blood pressure, side note, chlorella and chloroform will clear that right on up because mine was extremely low. They're like, "Can you walk? Can you move?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I'm like, "Okay, let me ease up off of that." So that helps with, it's so many benefits in spirulina and the chlorella. Hemp seeds, adaptogenic herbs like holy basil, ginseng, ashwagandha, and a probiotic. The probiotic you can get, I do a probiotic, you can do the vitamins, or I usually do like the little probiotic drinks that they sell. Especially if you're taking an antibiotic, you need to take a probiotic to get the bacteria, the good bacteria back into your body. So those are supplements that we should take. And if we deal with PMS, which is premenstrual syndrome, some of my coworkers, when they cycle come on, is to the extreme. So that's part of, it shouldn't be like that. Like you shouldn't be in so much pain where you can't walk, where you can't work, where you can't function. Something's going on in the hormones in the body. Like you shouldn't be in that much like pain. Something is going on, something is off. Premenstrual, menopause, fertility, POS, fibroids, and anti-aging. Those 7 key things that I just went over helps with all of that. It covers all that. And this is a short little video Dr. asked. He's talking about the different foods that we can eat. Some of them I touched on. He's gonna say something about the soy. He doesn't recommend the soy unless it's like GMO, with GMOs.
Hey guys, Dr. Axe here talking about the top foods that can naturally balance hormones. And if you struggle with thyroid issues, adrenal fatigue, any form of hormone imbalance whatsoever, maybe impotence, low testosterone, estrogen dominance, these 5 foods are an absolute must to help you naturally balance your hormones. And I think some of these healthy fats might even surprise you. And so again, if you're going to naturally balance your hormones, here are the 5 fats you have to have. Number 1, you've got to get healthy omega-9 fats. And omega-9 fats include avocados, almonds, and olive oil. We know avocados are also packed with potassium and fiber and other nutrients that can help balance hormones. But again, omega-9s are also known as monounsaturated fats, can help balance hormones. And you want to do 1 serving a day of those type of fats. And so one of the best, I really believe, is avocados. So doing about a half an avocado on a salad every day, or doing some homemade guacamole, a great way to naturally balance hormones. The second type of fat you want to add in your diet to balance hormones are short chain fatty acids. And those are found in grass-fed dairy products like grass-fed butter, ghee, and then things like organic kefir and yogurt. Also, the probiotics there can also be beneficial, but short chain fats are great for your gut, and they actually help your body in producing a fatty acid called L-butyrate, which actually is fuel for your gut. So it's great for balancing hormones. It even helps your body, actually, if your gut is healthy, from consuming these short chain fats. It aids your body in producing a vitamin called vitamin K2 along with vitamin B12, which naturally support balanced hormones. The third fat you want to add in to naturally balance your hormones are going to be omega-3 fatty acids. And we know that omega-3s reduce inflammation. That's why they're beneficial in balancing hormones. So consuming wild-caught fish like salmon, also adding in chia seeds, flax seeds, and walnuts. These omega-3 fats are also excellent when it comes to naturally balancing out those hormone levels in your body. The next sort of fat you want to get in your body are medium chain fatty acids that are found in coconut. The reason why coconut oil is so good for hormones is your body can burn coconut oil as energy. And so it helps stabilize blood sugar levels. And by the way, one of the biggest things that can cause your hormones to get imbalanced is consuming too much sugar and not getting the right type of fats for your body to burn as fuel. And that's why coconut oil, coconut milk, all coconut products are perfect for naturally balancing hormones. And last but not least, adding a sort of fatty acid in your diet, a type of omega-6 fat in, surprisingly, called GLA, that stands for gamma linoleic acid. And this sort of fatty acid is found in hemp seeds. It's also found in supplement form in evening primrose oil and borage oil. But hemp seeds contain a sort of fat that has been shown to naturally support progesterone levels in the body for men and women. And so adding hemp seeds in. And so a lot of these you can get in a superfood smoothie for breakfast. You could put in some coconut milk or coconut oil, a tablespoon of hemp seeds, a tablespoon of chia, and then even putting in an avocado there in the smoothie for breakfast. But load up on those 5 healthy fats if you want to naturally balance your hormones.
All right. Now it takes us back to our natural 8 laws of health. I do believe, like I said earlier, if we add these into our lifestyle daily, we can prevent majority of the hormones being thrown off. I think we just, like I said, I think we do one thing, but we don't do the other. We just got to remember, like, making sure the foods that we're eating it for our body, not for our flesh. Making sure we're exercising, making sure we're drinking enough water, getting out, getting some sunlight, tempering, having a balance, being able to do all these things and make time for our Father, make time for yourself, not in a selfish way, because we seem to, like, when we say the word self, we think we just like focusing on ourselves, but not in a selfish way, to the point where you need to take care of yourself still, spiritually, mentally, by watching what you eat, those type of things. That's what I mean by making time for yourself. Getting out, getting fresh air, making sure you're getting the proper rest, and making sure you're trusting the Father. We have to make sure that He gave us the proper food to eat. We have to believe that He gave us the proper food to eat. And we have to believe that He gave us these 8 laws for a reason. The world is doing it now, and we had we got it firsthand, but they do some of the stuff that we do too. They might just switch it up by saying little words, that different word like meditate, but we had it, we had it first, and we should be healthy and be examples for the rest of the world. So just remember the 8 laws of health, just making sure that we eat clean and that we're exercising, drinking our water, getting sunlight, balancing out our life through temperance, fresh air, getting rest, and spending time with God. Favorite scripture. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prosper. So, if you have any questions or any testimonies of how you have conquered, or anything you took away from this presentation, I'm here. If I can help, I will.
I had a question. There was a slide that you listed a while back. It was on I believe it's either herbs or supplements. It was one of the last ones. It said blue cohosh. If your hormones are imbalanced and say you're pregnant, won't that induce labor? Is blue or brown? Black? Blue cohosh. Okay.
Yeah, black cohosh.
Yeah.
The black cohosh help with hot flashes.
So then it's blue that, okay.
Yeah, it's black. It's black. Yeah, the women that's like going through menopause, they, you know, they have the flashes and stuff. Yeah, that herb that would help with that. The black cohosh. Any more questions?
Yeah, could you give us some clarity now? Dr. X was, X was saying to use dairy products and fish. And how does that rate with being a vegan, plant-based diet?
Well, everybody's not a plant-based diet, you know, on a plant-based diet for those that do eat meat. But we have, when he was saying like eat the fish and stuff for the omega-3, we don't have to necessarily eat the fish. We can do the chia seeds, we can do the walnuts, and we can do the flax seeds to get our omega-3. But people that do eat meat, they eat salmon.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that we're not advocating a dairy or meat diet
No,
for clarity, you know.
right.
So we need to really emphasize that, because if we present something and we make it a blanket without saying that, people will think that, well, it's okay to slide that way. And we have to, you know, make sure that their positive plant-based options are noted.
Yeah, that's why he said the flax seeds and chia seeds was one of the options for, you know, and walnuts. But everybody is not plant-based that are listening to this message either. So we have to have a balance too for those that do eat it. We don't eat it. We don't consume it. We don't promote it. But those that do, that are not plant-based, that's their option.
Is there a relationship between the hormones and intemperance? In other words, people who end up maybe overeating, is there only just a mindset, you know, I feel to eat more, or is there maybe some deficiency that maybe in some way or the other connected to hormonal imbalance that causes them to go in that direction?
Yes. I think that's the cortisol hormone, the stress hormone. When our cortisol level is high, it makes us eat more. I know me, I was an emotional eater. Like I would eat when I'm sad or mad or angry. I would eat my feelings away. So I think that's the cortisol level that is being raised. So we have to work out to release that. So a lot of people, I think that's what we do. We overeat because we're not working out, because once I started working out, those hormones was leaving out my body and the weight was just dropping off. Yes, the diet.
Yeah, the subject of hormones is a very big subject.
Yes. So
And what is interesting is here in North America, I think there's estimating that as much as 3/4 of the population is overweight or is going to be overweight pretty soon or somewhere along that line. And the unfortunate thing is that excess fat actually works as a hormone producing organ of itself. And what it produces typically is estrogens. And estrogen is a very potent cancer promoter. As one cancer researcher stated, it's the fodder on which cancer thrives or lives. And dairy products is one outside of being overweight. Dairy products is our biggest source of estrogen substances, especially in the diet. And so we really don't want to be using dairy products because that ends up being a very potent cancer promoter to a great extent because of the excess estrogens. And so then of course, then you get into the whole dietary thing with the cancer. However, along with being overweight, a lot of Americans are not exercising like they should anymore either. So it really feeds into a whole situation of excess weight that's fueling a lot of even these hormonal imbalances that happen. And as you rightly said, vitamin D is a very important vitamin for so many things, including the hormonal balance. And actually, the medical establishment says 30 is you need to be 30 to be in range, but natural healers are telling you need to be at least 50. If your vitamin D level is not at least 50, you have 4 times the incidence of breast cancer than in other words, if it's below 50, you have 4 times the incidence of breast cancer, whereas if it's above 50, target should be between 50 and 60. So if it's not moving, you got to get up into somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 international units of vitamin D a day. And as you rightly said, with the K2 as well, when you get up at those high levels, it must have the K2. And rightly, we should have been able to get it from the sun, but I think there's something in our bodies now that is not allowing the efficient conversion of production of vitamin D compared to what it used to be. You would have to have some real serious sun exposure and extensive sun exposure to really get your vitamin D levels up to where they should be, even if you live in the tropics. So I think there's something that has gone on with us as humans. Our functioning, our production is just not what it was or what it should be. And so supplementing is really, really important. And I'll stop there for the moment.
another thing I wanted to mention too with the estrogen, another thing that causes our estrogen level to be high too is plastic, the BPA. So we have to be careful, make sure that we try to use as much glass products that we can, but the plastic too causes estrogen levels to be high also. So keep that in mind.
Okay, so I have 2 questions now. First question had to do, you mentioned eating when you were depressed, or like, you're sad or something like that. You tend to eat your life away, as you say. I wanted to ask the question, if any hormone is off, wouldn't that cause you to eat? Because people stress eat and people eat when they're happy, overexcited and all that other stuff. Wouldn't that cause the eating out of intemperance rather? And the second question is, how does plastic play a role? We don't eat plastic.
But you drink the water bottles, your
Oh,
containers.
like the leaching and,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
okay.
plastic, the containers that the food come in, plastic, like a lot of things are plastic that's not BPA free. So it's better to like use glass, plastic fork, plastic plates, plastic, just everything plastic. I mean, it's just all around us because they don't recycle they recycle it, but it's through a chemical. Those are chemicals that they're using to recycle these things, and then we drinking the water, and it's not BPA free, and the estrogen level going up, and yeah, the world we live in. The other question you said with the stress, um, you said that um yeah, sometimes some people they don't eat when they stress too. It can be the opposite, and yes, that's dealing with the hormones too. Yeah, yeah, the hormones are off. Sister Paula.
I'm just always amazed at how well our bodies are created. How every part and every chemical has a function and it's all integrated. But it's not a wonder to me that so many people suffer from hormonal imbalances. Do you know, I read an article recently that linked that to the class of drugs called statins, atorvastatin and all of those supposedly cholesterol lowering drugs. 3/4 of the population in this country are on those drugs.
Yep.
And what those drugs do is lower cholesterol artificially. But now the building block of hormones is what? Cholesterol. It's a substance that our body produces naturally for the purpose of building our hormones that run our body. But it is the most lucrative drug in this country. I mean, the company that makes the statins, they are rich off statins alone if they didn't sell anything else. And that is because, well, we won't go into that. That's not the issue. But if people are taking cholesterol lowering drugs, and that's the stuff that makes the hormones, you see why we are not getting the hormones that we do need to run our bodies. Now, the other thing is about children. Girls especially come up to puberty and it's either delayed or it's very early, or when it is there, it just doesn't work the way it's supposed to. But this generation does very little in the way of exercise too, or eating healthy. Those are two things that are key for the development, right, of the young bodies as they grow up. So in our population, especially, it's our job, those of us who are aware of these things, to really educate, our young people as to the things that really are crucial in helping them. I know because I live with young people, and I got to get them up off the, devices, go outside, ride a bike, jump the trampoline, do something rather than sit around and be couch potatoes, so that you can grow up and have a healthy puberty and a healthy adult life. So you're right, the 8 laws of health will do us a world of good. That and avoiding popular drugs.
Yes, it's true. I call this part 1 because, like Sister Diane said, the hormones are so deep. Like, I was up late trying to see, like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to focus on? Because you got hormones for men, you got hormones for women, you got the kids hormone, you got the adult hormones, you got all these different phases. You got puberty that the girls go through, which they're going through earlier because of the hormones. Like, I mean, they get their cycle at 8 and 9 years old. Like, boys have boobs. It's ridiculous. It's like the food and stuff that we're eating, well, majority of the world are eating. We try to eat a plant-based diet to avoid these things, but no wonder the mindset is messed up because the hormones that if you are a meat eater, they don't feed it. They just pump these animals up with all these hormones. And then some people eat them and then it passes through them and their kids. And it's just a confused nation that we in, but the hormones plays a lot of role in it. So we definitely should try to be plant-based, eat a clean diet because of just how the meat companies, what they do to the animal, what they feed the animal. It's just not real food. And then people eat it, and then you wonder why you got all these diseases. You wonder why your child is going through puberty so early, why they snapping, why they want to be a man, why they want to be a woman. It's just confused because of the hormones that's in the food. So it's better to have a plant-based diet. At least it comes from a plant. We don't have to worry about it being injected. And it's just how they process foods this day and time. Like I grew up on milk and I wasn't lactose intolerant, but my whole family is lactose intolerant now. They can't drink milk to save their life. They run into the bathroom or their face is breaking up and breaking out. Even with the kids, Autumn and Skylar, they had an episode. I don't eat meat, and I raised them not to eat meat, but their dad eat meat. So when they go visit him, they come back sick and they got eczema all over their body and rashes all over their body and mucus. And they never had those issues. My kids was never sick, but what can I say? But it plays a key in their diet. What we eat definitely plays a key in our mindsets and things. Any more questions, Sister Tracy?
Okay, so is there a way you can kind of test your estrogen or progesterone, progesterone
Yep.
level, like how you can test if you dehydrated, you pinched it, you do the skin pinch to see if you dehydrated, or you do certain things to test, different parts of diagnosis. But I was just wondering, is there a little simple test that you can do before going to the doctor, or just even if you've been to the doctor and you want to kind of keep a check, is there something, I know, I'm pretty sure, or even a machine to purchase, but if there's a way that you can just test your hormone level, particularly estrogen and progesterone level.
I don't know. All I asked Sister Diane, all I know is through the blood, getting your blood drawn. But maybe there is. Sister Diane can answer that question.
Yes, certainly blood is one way, but there's another way that can be used, and that's a saliva test. Dr. Lee was one of the real pioneers of dealing with bioidentical hormones, meaning exactly what your body makes. Any of the hormones you get from prescription from your doctor generally are not bioidentical hormones, which means it is changed just slightly from what your body makes. Therefore, it's not going to act exactly like what your body makes, and that's why you end up with side effects, generally from non-bioidentical hormones. Dr. Lee was one of the pioneers in bioidentical progesterone, and he showed that a lot of the problems have to do with either low progesterone or an imbalance between estrogen and progesterone. Even if your estrogen is normal, but your progesterone is low, you're still in an imbalance. You've got to have the balance between the two. It's better that they're either both low or they're both high, because it's the ratio between the two that's more important than the exact amount. But yes, he advocated saliva testing. It's been a little while since I've looked, but there are websites that are connected generally to some extent to his work that offer a kits where they'll send it to you and you do the saliva test and you send it back to them. And then you get a report as to what your hormone levels are like. And usually there's different categories of how many hormones it'll test for you. But that is an option other than blood work. And Dr. Lee thought the saliva testing was more reliable. I don't know if they have sent anything more now, but that's what he thought at that time. Yes, Dr. Lee, Lee. Mhm. Okay, they have a finger prick kit now. Okay, so that's something new that is being offered.
Did that answer your question, Sister Tracy? I learned something new too.
Just an observation. And I notice in most of these situations where we've had presentations relative to the negative effects of poor diets or unhealthy lifestyles and their results, that we always have to slip in exercise. You notice that? And it is so unfortunate that when we do get sick, especially those of us who are involved in the healthy way of living, we don't always promote the exercise as being the normalizer or the king, so to speak, in the context of trying to get ourselves back on track naturally, easily. We usually run to the herbs, or we will always try to find something that we wouldn't have to sweat, we wouldn't have to work, we wouldn't have to put out energy. But yet it always comes back to you need to add exercise to it. So if we did make exercise an essential ingredient of our recuperation from whatever it is, bounce back from going on camp out, getting worn out, and then because I knew from times past how I used to think about exercise. If I was weak, tired, or feeling as though I was stressed out or getting down with something, I would avoid exercise because I will tell myself I'm going to get even more weak because I'll be using up energy. But I have proven over time that is so foolish. It is actually the opposite. What it does, it adds energy because you are actually getting the body in motion, and circulation in itself helps to build up your muscles and everything else that goes along with getting rid of the poisons that are making you weak. So it's just something, I'm glad that you slipped that in along the way, because it just makes it evident that if we really obeyed all the 8 natural laws, and we didn't wait until somebody could give us a particular herb or whatever, but we got into using what we have, what we can, starting with exercise, which doesn't even require putting something in our mouths. It just requires us to move a little more into action. We might find ourselves a whole lot more healthy than we are.
Yeah.
And recuperating faster than we do.
Yes. And I know for me, I feel so much better when I just go for a walk or walk miles just to get my heart rate up, especially like a hilly walk. I feel so much better. I feel like that usually be the cure for me. Like I need to get out because it helps my mood. It decreases my appetite because you be tired. You don't really want to eat. And so and it releases the hormones and stuff that's there. You're getting your blood rate up, your heart rate, you're releasing it. To me, I feel like that's the key right there, the exercise along with the rest. But if you get out and get active, you just feel so much better. Like, I don't know, it's just something about out in nature and just working out. You just feel so much better. I actually like to work out. I love the summertime because I can work out more outside versus inside at Planet Fitness in the wintertime. So I love when the sun come out, I can go outside and work out majority of the time. Yes, Brother Leroy.
Yes, it's interesting that Pastor mentioned about the exercise because I remember when I was growing up, one time my big brother told me when I had a fever, he said, and he felt my forehead and he said, go put on your tracksuit and go run. And I, put on, and a tracksuit really makes you sweat. And then you'd go run around the block or something, and then you go take a cold shower and you feel better. And I think the toxins and all that come out of your body. And also I remember when I was in Jamaica, I used to ride a lot. And anytime I had a fever, I would drink something warm, put on warm clothes and go for a ride. And you just sweat that fever out too.
Yes.
So, a lot of nowadays we're just used to anytime you have a fever, you want to take ibuprofen and all those stuff, which is all you're doing is really ruining your organs
Push it back into the system.
and put it right. Well, anyway, the question I want to ask you is, does exercise affect your hormones or hormone levels?
In a good way. Yeah.
Okay,
helps.
because
It helps balance your hormones. It helps.
okay, because I know a lot of exercise advocates like I've seen on like YouTube is they promote exercise, especially for men to increase testosterone. Because a lot of the time, some of the ED efficiencies what men have is really because of exercise,
Yeah.
Yeah, because exercise naturally does increase testosterone.
Yeah. Naturally.
Naturally.
Yeah.
So, sometimes even with ED problems with some men, is really exercise they need. And they found out that most men who like, have stomachs and all of that, that's usually the case with them. There's really a lack of exercise.
The
And,
hormones.
to eliminate toxins and to raise your your testosterone level. And also you mentioned about the cortisol level too. That too, the exercise will take care of that too.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Like,
That's the stress hormone.
yes, before when you're stressed, another way too, rather than eat, go exercise, go walk. Because when you snack and all that, it's only going to make it worse.
Yep.
The exercise will carry down that cortisol level and increase your testosterone level.
Yes, it's true. It's true. I had a patient, he came in and I was talking to him. I always try to like talk to the patients and stuff. And he came in and he used to be a former basketball player. And so he's like, yeah, because he came in and he had to come back the next week. And I'm like, what are you doing back in here? He's like, oh, my blood pressure up and they want to put me on this medicine. And so I asked him, like, how long have you been on blood pressure medicine? He was like, for 10 years. I'm like, why are you waiting so long to like get off of blood pressure? Like, you can get off blood pressure medicine, because you just got to change up some stuff in your diet. And he was like, yeah. So, I just told him like the simple stuff like drinking water. He wasn't drinking water. He's not really eating any vegetables. He's not exercising like he used to exercise when he was a former athlete. And to the point, he almost had a stroke because the blood pressure medicine wasn't working. So now they're looking at his kidneys. He's like in first stages of kidney failure because of the high blood pressure medicine that he'd been taking over the years. So now he's doing a plant-based diet. He's off of one of the medications. I told him about the natural 8 laws of health. He's been eating clean. He's doing his smoothies. He's doing sea moss. He's doing the chlorella. He's doing the spirulina. And so hopefully we'll have a testimony that I can tell you guys once he get off all the medication. So it's just simple things that doctors don't tell them, or they just don't know about it. Like they don't have the blessing that we have with the natural 8 laws and the diet and stuff. So we have to spread, the word and try to talk to certain people that are that's on like blood pressure medicine or that is a diabetic. Yes, Minty?
I know for most men, any exercise dealing from the waist down is either going to increase or maintain your testosterone levels. So if you would want a quick fix to testosterone production, most exercises from the waist down, that it's what most of us in the gym will call a leg day, but that's typically how you can increase it or at least maintain it.
Right. Good tip, Minty.
And for the men, ED is really a circulatory issue. It should be considered a warning sign that you could be having heart disease coming up next in the pipeline. So you need to listen to it and attend to that, which of course, increasing your circulation, all the stuff we've talked about, the exercise, getting onto a good plant-based diet, cutting out a lot of the fat out of your diet, because well, just as far as calories are concerning, when we talk about fat or oils, when we have a lot of that in our diet and we're trying to lose weight, it makes it more difficult because fat has 9 calories per gram, whereas carbohydrates and protein only have 4 calories. So fat carries twice as much calories. And if you're really wanting to lose weight, cut out a bunch of the fatty food out of your diet, cut out the sugary drinks, cut out the sweets, and exercise and increase the fiber. And that's usually a great recipe for losing weight. And again, as we've talked about, and different people have said here, implied, the natural laws of health is really the foundation. And being overweight should be taken very seriously because it has so many diseases are precipitated by being overweight. It's not something that, my mother was overweight, and so I'm just following how my mother. No. Take it seriously. Do something about it, because you can do something about it.
Yep. Amen. What's the Allison?
Autumn said, "This is my last question. I can't ask anymore." But in regards to the exercising, I know there's a formula for water, half your body weight in ounces. Is there a particular formula for females versus the males? Because I know if we work out as much as, say, the male, it'll produce too much in our body, or if they do less, it may not. I don't know how that works. Is there like a percentage or the amount of length, like an hour or 2 or 30 minutes, or is there a formula for the females in regards to the males? I can only ask about myself. I can't really ask.
Okay, I'll let Sister Diane answer. I usually try to work out 45 minutes a day. Try. That's me though. But some people can't work out, so they got to start, off slow. But go ahead, Sister Diane.
Unless you're an athlete, you're not going to be exercising too much. Now, I want to that'll qualify that to some extent. Of course, if you're not used to exercising and you try go out there and do a 10-mile marathon, that's too much for you. So take it within the framework that, okay, a reasonable program where you're gradually increasing from where you are to an increased fitness is very good. But as far as too much exercise for athletes, where that usually comes into a situation is where the body fat of the female body gets so low, then the cycle stops because the body composition, the fat part of the body composition has dropped so low. But that generally doesn't happen unless you're an athlete or maybe you're anorexic. So the vast majority of people, that's not going to even apply to. As far as how long, there are different concepts, different ideas as far as how much exercise. Probably on the low end, we're looking at 30 minutes 3 times a week, to high end of 45 minutes 5 to 6 times a week. There's also the concept of high intensity interval training, which is very good, will take you to the next level of fitness without as long of time of having to participate or to engage in the exercise session. And high intensity interval training, basically the concept for that is that you get started, you warm up, you walk, whatever. In other words, you limber up your muscles. And so you say, if you're walking, you'll walk for say 3 minutes after you've warmed up. You walk 3 minutes, and then you run as fast as you can for 30 seconds. And then you come down to a walk for 3 minutes. Then you run as fast as you can for 30 seconds. And you do that at least 3 times. And when I say at least, you can do more, which will increase your fitness. And that will also take your fitness level to another height. And it may sound strange, but it's true. That high intensity interval training can be very helpful in taking you to the next level. Now, if running as fast as you can gives you chest pain and so forth, you maybe maybe you started a little too soon. So you have to evaluate where you are in your fitness and maybe try it out, maybe not quite as fast as you can, but at least definitely a run compared to a walk for the 30 seconds, and then come back down to the walk for 30 seconds, at least 3 intervals.
Yes, but balanced diet is very important, because sometimes I will snack between meals, yes. And I will, let's say I had breakfast at 8 o'clock. By 8:30, I get hungry again. I'm just giving an example. I don't say it has to be me, but it happens to me before. And then I snack in between, and then I get lousy, have no energy. I said, wait a minute, something is off. I don't have that hemostasis. So my balance is out. So what do I do when I feel I'm getting that way? I go outside and I walk. And if I'm indoors during the winter time, I have to walk around the house, inside the house, to get that mood off of me. So we have to have a balanced diet. And if we feel hungry between meals, drink water. That helps, because you see, your brain is telling the stomach you're hungry. So your brain is lying to the stomach. So they are corresponding, telling you that you're hungry, you're not. So the best way to get out of that mode is to do some walking. Thank you.
Or drink your water, like you said. Yeah.
I like what Sister Diane just said about the interval training, because that's exactly how I work out. I was a cyclist in Jamaica, and I used to train long hours, and it does burn a lot of calories. But here in America, I can't find the time to do the long. So I really only work out for 45 minutes, but I found this book, what this guy had about interval training, and it's really effective. I really only worked out like 45 minutes. You can even work out a half an hour, but just as she said it, you warm up first, and you can do it with walking too, you know, a lot of us just walk. I notice when the church walk, they just stroll really. You're really not getting any benefits out of it. But if you add as what she said, the interval training, say you walk briskly and you use that timer on your phone or what, and say walk briskly for 3 minutes, and then it goes off, you go back to a normal pace. But if you do it, what it does, it brings something called your lactate threshold up, which what it does, it increases your I forgot what you call it, but it helps because the fitter you are, you know that the fitter you are is the lesser your heart rate is.
Mhm.
The normal heart rate is what, 72 beats per minute? 72, about 72 beat. You know, the fitter you get, your heart is more efficient. There's some cyclists whose heart rate is actually 35 beats per minute. That is how efficient their heart is. And I've actually tried it. And I noticed when I'm in good shape, my heartbeat rate would go down to even like 60. I've actually got it down to 55. That's how efficient your heart is, or your heart is getting stronger. There's a guy who I met the other day on my vacation. He had a stroke, and to my surprise, he told me he had a stroke and he never had any side effects. And I was really surprised because I told him, you know, you're really blessed because I've never seen anybody had a stroke and now have some side effects. But he said one of the reasons why he didn't have any side effects is because he's an avid cyclist. And the doctor, his doctor is a cyclist, and they said cyclists naturally have strong hearts.
Mm.
And the reason why he got the stroke, the doctor was telling is because his diet was terrible. So it just goes to show you that everything has to be a balance.
Mhm.
You can be exercising but have a terrible diet. There has been basketball players who have had heart attacks because they eat McDonald's and all that. That's what they eat.
Horrible. Yeah.
So you know that everything has to be balanced. And just because of that, he told me he's switching to plant-based. And I really believed him because all week I'm watching this guy and all he's been eating was celery and
Peanut.
carrots and peanuts. He eat peanuts because he said he's switching to a plant-based. I was really proud of him. So he was asking me some advice. And I mean, he's older than me, but he really took it serious. And, you know, he's saying he's really going to try because, you know, everybody came and looked for him and was so shocked that, you know, his brain and everything was sharp as ever. So he felt blessed, and I prayed with him, and I tell him, you know, anything, just check with me and I'll give you some advice on foods, because he has some friends telling him already that where you going to get your protein, you know, people who on plant-based diet already bugging him. You gotta eat fish, you gotta eat some form of meat to get
Yeah.
protein, you know. But thankfully, he said he knew me for years. I know that I've been plant-based, so he calls me and asks for advice. So I'm really just thankful that I got a chance to reach out to him, you know.
Amen.
But just to finish, I just want to say we need to take exercise more seriously, because I remember Marlene had an uncle, right, who was in the army, and he was very healthy, and he had two granddaughters young granddaughters who developed was pre-diabetic. And he took these two girls and would run them every day. And he even put them in the army. And now they're doing so well. And then after he got them through all of that, he just didn't do exercise and diet anymore. And he himself became diabetic and died. So, you know, he set a good example, but he didn't follow through with his example. And now he's gone. And he didn't live, he was only like 62 years of age.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was so, it hit me hard that, you know, he could have helped others, but he couldn't have helped himself.
Right.
You know, so we as Adventists, we always, and I always hear Brother Michael say that we don't take exercise as part of and exercise is something what will burn off extra calories. It will neutralize a lot of things in our bodies. It get toxins out of our bodies. You know, it prevents, make our heart strong. We're just relying on the fact that we are vegans and that will help us or protect us.
Oh.
That's not gonna work. We gotta do some exercise too.
And most of the vegans are overweight. Most
Yes.
majority of
Yes.
weight because they're still eating unhealthy
Yes.
plant-based food. They're eating a lot of processed food. They're not cooking their foods. You know, they're eating a lot of processed food. The processed plant-based food has a lot of
Yes.
chemicals in it to make it taste the way that it tastes.
Right.
But if we eat the plant-based food the way God told us,
Yes.
the legumes, the beans, the
Yeah.
carrots, the brown rice, the grains, we will not be overweight. We're overweight because we're not eating right. We're plant-based, but we're still not eating the correct type of food or overeating. And then we're not exercising.
Right.
It goes hand in hand. You cannot just drink water
Yeah.
and don't pray, or you cannot just not eat and don't work out. It all works together. Like God gave us the 8 laws of health for a reason. It helps the whole body. It's just not like helping one part of the body. Like we need all 8 of those laws to help us.
Yeah.
It helps. Like
Yeah. So just in closing, one thing I must say about what you said about the interval training, it's good to get your lactate threshold up a bit. You shouldn't have to just run down there and feel like you're out of breath. That's to me not being healthy. You have to do a little workout where you get your heart rate up a little bit. I'm not saying you must be struggling for air, but you carry it up a little bit. And if you feel like you're getting there, you level off, keep it for a minute, and then you go back down. But
Right.
that's the only way you're gonna get your lactate threshold up, that you won't be like out of breath. Like
Right.
you can't keep up with your children then.
right.
And
Yeah,
you're a young and you're not that old of a person, you know?
I challenge my kids all the time. We
Right.
race all the time, and I win. You know,
Right.
every time. I'm not gonna let them beat me. I'm not. So I have to keep up with them. So that keeps me going because I have to be able to catch them. You know, and they're not. I'm not gonna let them outrun me.
I think Skylar's protesting. I was just going to quickly mention as far as if there's a scenario of what like Sister Luna mentioned, as far as somebody that gets hungry shortly after eating, one thing to consider is to see what is the meal of that the person has eaten. If say for breakfast, if all you eat is pancakes and fruit, you probably will be hungry in a couple hours. It is the function of the higher protein foods that help you to feel satisfied for the next, to be not hungry for the next stretch of time. The fat in the food helps to make you feel satisfied. The protein helps you to stay from one meal to the next. So if you're just having something like pancakes and fruit, there's not a whole lot of protein in that meal. Or if you have just oatmeal and fruit, it's good if you could have some kind of nuts or legumes, something or other, also in addition, that is a higher protein food that will help you to stay to the next meal. So if you, another thing is the spaghetti. If you're having spaghetti and tomato sauce and you ate a plate full of that and you wonder why in a couple hours I'm hungry again, well, you probably didn't have anything of a higher protein nature represented in that meal to help you stay from one meal to the next.
Amen.
I was gonna mention to what Brother Leroy said that, and you mentioned there are overweight vegans, but a lot of the vegans feel like wine, beer, cakes, all of that stuff is considered vegan, so they add it in. And I know Pastor mentioned also intemperance, even though you are vegan, you are being intemperate, that can also contribute to being also overweight. Everything, like he said, has to be a balance.
Every one of the 8 natural laws have to be checked off.
Oh, I just want to say something. Sometimes when your body, her Sister Luna said about hungry. Sometimes when your body is saying it's hungry, it's really thirsty.
Yeah, it's thirsty, yeah.
So
Jordan is
I think if you really want to keep your diet going, rather than thinking about food sometimes, drink 2 cups of water first.
Mhm. As far as the natural 8 laws
Yeah,
of water.
and I think I'm alluding to the same thing. You know, when you mentioned, I started laughing. This morning I was telling Minty, if anybody has seen me growing weight, because you want to be intemperate and try to munch on anything you think you can find that feels good.
Yeah.
I mean, you putting yourself there so bad, but we don't want to accept it. You see health reformers always munching on something, eating between meals, trying to taste anything. Brethren, we have to cut it out. I mean, I've seen it so much that from like a week or 2 ago, I'm like, this is killing me.
Yeah.
And for real, it's killing me. So if we don't watch those things, I mean, not even candy, but I mean, you snack on this, you can snack on that, you drink this, you drink that. You are no health reformer. You are no health reformer. And at times you don't take care, you be tasting every food. Because the stomach wants to rest after food.
Yeah.
But you see, we keep on opening it for it to take anything that comes, so it doesn't rest. And what do you think you're doing to yourself?
Yeah.
So we have to be more temperate
It's true.
when it comes to our diet and appetites.
If we can remember that we have an enemy that's out there that's want to kill, steal, and destroy by any means necessary, and majority of the time is through our diet, the way he get majority of all of, like our loved ones and our friends, or it's through our diet, and even us, like it's through the temptation of food. But if we can balance that out, and if we eat a clean diet, I know for me, whenever I eat really clean, I get fuller quicker. But when I eat unhealthy vegan foods and stuff, I'm like constantly hungry. But if you eat clean, the raw, like raw wraps and stuff, and your smoothies and your juices, you get fuller faster. The cells, your body is content. Your body like, oh yeah, I'm full. Like, and I lose so much weight and I feel so much better. And so we just got to try it and practice these things in our lives, and ask God to help us when we struggle. We still have to like pray without ceasing. That's on our mind, the food and stuff that we eat, and pray and ask God to help us, because the food is addictive, and we in a country where food is just everything. You celebrate, you eat this, you celebrate for that, you celebrate, it's food, food, food. So we just have to get out of that generational curse, and remember to that God loves us and he wants us to eat clean. It benefits us in the end. Yes, Sister Diane.
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback off of what you're saying, and that's a lot of the function of fiber. So one way to consider or to think about it is, okay, all the plant food that I eat should have fiber in it. In other words, it should not have been refined or removed. If the fiber has been removed, maybe I need to think about a slightly different variety of what I'm going to eat. And it's as simple as I know we like our beverages, but that's one of the things that can sabotage our weight loss program too, is beverages, because the lack of fiber that's generally in a juice, unless you've blended it into a smoothie or something like that. So just seeing how many different ways we can get fiber into our diet, and the only place you're going to get fiber is on plant food anyhow. And it's going to have to be a whole plant food generally to really get fiber, because the processed ones, like you mentioned, it's got the fiber removed, like the white flour stuff, the white rices and things like generally have the fiber removed. So looking to see how much fiber I can get into my diet is perhaps a way we can look at it too.
Yes, yes, I agree. Any more questions or testimonies or?
Sister Diane mentioned about fiber. So for vegans, do vegans need to cleanse?
Yeah, everybody, because of just the environment alone, we should do a detox. I think so. Do you, Sister Diane, recommend?
Well, technically, we should be kind of cleansing on an ongoing process through the water we drink, through the fiber we eat, the greens that we consume, the fact that we are allowing 10 to 12 hours between our evening meal and our breakfast meal. All of these are our daily mechanisms of removing toxins from our bodies. The water through the kidneys, the fiber through the colon, the chlorophyll helps the tissues to release the toxins from our bodies. So this should be an ongoing detox as it is. Not to say that we don't want to ever detox, but if we're doing this on a daily basis and we are maybe throwing some green drinks in between, to say we've got to have a specific, every couple of weeks I need to do a detox, that's fine if somebody wants to, but I think we need to be on top of our diet and our lifestyle enough that it's almost an ongoing thing anyhow. So it's not like we have to specify a certain time only that we have to detox. But again, if somebody wants to do it, that's not a problem.
I remember a few years ago, and I just want to quickly make the connection here with the hormones, since that was the subject matter. I remember a few years ago getting some knee problems, and I thought it was age. And of course, I felt, again, just like in the case of the exercising, that if I go on an exercise, it's going to hurt me even more. And I decided to do the opposite, which is to go and exercise, even though the knees were hurting. And the pain disappeared up to now.
Amen.
I realized what was happening is that the lack of doing as much exercise as I was normally doing was actually starting to cause maybe a buildup of other things in my system that I did not need. And now I was releasing it. So it's disappeared. So whenever I get pains now, I go out of my way to exercise because I see it really works. Now, the context of the connection with hormones, if you look up the word endorphins in just a simple dictionary, it will tell you that how it's one of the hormones to relieve not just stress, but also pain. When you exercise, the hormone endorphins are released into the system, and it takes care of both the stress and the pain. So this is why I say exercise is king.
Yeah.
I mean, if we live in a world today where we are riddled with stress circumstances in our lives, stressful circumstances popping up at any point in time, as well as dealing with pain as you go a little more mature in age, then God has given us something to, as you said before, to balance off the hormones, and exercise is a key. we who are involved in the Adventist system of health being an important component in our belief system, it also helps us to realize we get additional support by what we take into our bodies as opposed to just the exercising of our bodies. But I just want to stress the fact that if we want to be happy, we want to be joyful and not stressed out, we need to get out there and make some activities with our bodies. Get it out there, make it do some exercising. And it doesn't always have to be running. It just walking fast enough that you
Get your heart
can
rate.
feel, yeah, you get your heart rate up. But yeah, it will release those endorphins that will give you joy and happiness and pleasure from just being out there in connection with nature. And at the same time, it will decrease the stress and the pain.
Yeah, I had that on my paper also. Yeah, when I feel myself getting like snappy and short with people, I check myself like, what I'm not doing. Like, oh, I need to go work out. Let me go work out. And then sometimes I'll be in the gym at 10 o'clock at night. I'm working out so I can make sure I'm good, so I won't be snappy and short with the kids and impatient. And we have to look at ourselves too, most of the time and see where we're not balanced at. The whole temperance is just, it's just simple temperance. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the hormones.
So as you're talking, I know we're talking about exercise physically. Can we still add in exercising spiritually into that? Even though I know trusting in God kind of has that, but exercising that faith that you have with God, can't that also be a part of that exercise token or that exercise piece?
Are you saying like what, like talking about like when we're exercising, or
Like
are you
there's
saying
the physical exercise, but
Mhm.
there's also that spiritual aspect of exercising the faith between, you and God, can't that
yeah.
be a part of
Yeah,
the
that's
exercise?
that's why I was emphasizing that natural 8 laws, because up under that, you got trust in God. How we're gonna trust God? We got to study His Word. We got to have faith in Him. We got to pray without ceasing. We got to stay connected to Him. So that trusting part is part of this. Our spiritual walk is part of the 8 natural laws too. We have to we got to have that too, along with exercising. Like some of us just have the spiritual walk, but you're not working out, or you're not eating clean, so we have to have all of it to work together. We're gonna lack in something. Like we have to have all of the natural 8 laws. Yeah. Minty.
It works the same way. It's the same formula.
Mm-hmm.
Your faith can't increase unless you exercise that faith on a daily basis. Part of what gets you in the mental state to be able to absorb what you're reading or what you're hearing is your diet, is the 8 laws of health. You can't build your body or build any endurance without first putting it through a test of fire in order for it to be built back up. You can't achieve a certain strength level without first exercising on lower levels. So they go hand in hand, and it's amazing how God made the formula for spiritual strength and physical strength along the same lines.
Yeah. We serve an awesome God. Pastor, got something to say?
There's a mental component. Thank you. There's a mental component in the exercising of faith. Now we spent some time in recent times talking about praying without ceasing. And one of the keys in exercising faith is that it's difficult. You ask anybody to pray without ceasing or to practice God's presence and keep Him in your mind all the time. It's a mental exercise to do it. You have to be switching from darkness to light all the time, because the natural heart is to always dwell in darkness. We just don't love the light, but it requires effort on the human part to endeavor to move from darkness to light. And that in itself is an exercise, even though it may be of a mental nature as opposed to physical exercise, it still requires exercise. So even in the spiritual realm, Elder Menti, it's correct. Even in the spiritual realm, it requires exercise, just as in the case of the physical realm, because you have to make an effort to switch from darkness to light. And to do that on a continual basis requires you to be mentally exercising all the time. So, God is just showing us at both levels the necessity for exercise.
Amen. Any more questions? Did you learn anything? Amen. And we just gotta pray for one another and ask God to help us obey his natural 8 laws and continue, this journey and be an example, for others. All right. Thank you guys